Tonight, a cut price Commonwealth Games. Glasgow announces a bid to be a backup host of the 2026 Commonwealth Games if no other country steps in.
Getting a major event in home soil was fantastic, but I can see why there may be mixed emotions with the general public.
Also making the headlines, overcapacity and overcrowded. Scotland's prisons are creaking at the seams. A warning, numbers are abnormally high.
In sport, Celtic winger Maeda faces an anxious wait over playing again this season after sustaining a hamstring injury.
And the Pie Masters meeting to share an award-winning recipe baked in tradition. I'm Vanessa Kennedy in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. It was celebrated as a huge success for the city a decade ago, and now Glasgow could be in the running to host the Commonwealth Games again in 2 years' time. It is Victoria and Australia's turn, but rising costs called a halt to that last year.
Since then, talks have been ongoing, unsuccessfully so far, to find another host. Now it's emerged a backup plan has been drawn up for the competition to return to Glasgow if talks with other countries fail. Adam Todd reports.
It was hailed as the best Commonwealth Games in history. For 11 days in 2014, the world's eyes were on Glasgow, and it didn't disappoint. But since then, the Games' future has come under threat. The Australian state of Victoria withdrew its host in the summer due to rising costs, and Singapore and Malaysia have also ruled out bids. Should no other be found, Glasgow could be set to step in.
For me, I was really overjoyed and really happy to see that there has been sort of a more cost-effective manner to be able to host these games, because it is so important, not just for the athletes, but for the inspiration that it brings to the host nation, but also the younger athletes coming through.
Getting a major event in home soil was fantastic, but I can see why there may be mixed emotions with the general public.
Glasgow's offering this time around would be a scaled-back event. Commonwealth Games Scotland say their plans include a significantly reduced budget with no significant ask of public funds, a core sport programme of 10 to 13 sports, and using existing sporting venues and accommodation options.
We are not asking for public money. We are not taking money out of any budgets that for local authorities for Scottish Government. This is £100 million that's made available from the Commonwealth Games Federation from their Victorian settlement that will come into the city, and we'll raise more money on top of that from tickets, from sponsorship, from broadcast rights, etc. So I read regularly about the challenges in the city. Is it not a good thing for someone to bring that sort of money in, which will translate perhaps to 1.5 or 2 times the economic value? Fill bars, fill hotels, fill restaurants. Yes, we should put a little bit of investment into making sure the city looks its best. But based on previous games, that will translate to a heck of a lot more than than some of those budgets you've just described.
Glasgow has a strong track history when it comes to hosting major sporting events. Last year it held the UCI Cycling World Championships, and just last month it welcomed the world's best athletes for the World Athletics Indoor Championships. But is the city ready for another Commonwealth Games?
I think the city's a bit on the sort of, it needs something to give us a bit of a kick, a bit of spark again. It would be really a big boost. I think it'd be really great if we came back here.
I think we've got the infrastructure and we've got people that have got the skills in the city from the legacy of the last game, so why not embrace it?
I think that'd be pretty good for Glasgow, yeah. Aye, could bring a lot of business, travel and tourism.
A final decision on who will host the 2026 event is expected to be made by the Commonwealth Games Federation next month. Adam Todd, STV News.
Our political editor Colin Mackay has been looking at the prospects and joins us now from Scotstoun. So Colin, how would this work?
This would be so different from 10 years ago. Instead of the biggest show the city has seen, this would be a cut-price Commonwealth Games. Now, the last time, 10 years ago, it cost £543 million, mostly from the Scottish Government and Glasgow City Council. Birmingham in 2022 cost £778 million. Now, Commonwealth Games Scotland reckon that Glasgow 2026 could cost just £150 million. As you heard in Adam's report there, £100 million of that would come from Australia for pulling out of hosting the Games, with another 30 to 50 million being raised in ticket sales and commercial deals. But it's not just the costs that would be slimmed down. The sport would be slimmed down too. You would have to have athletics and swimming. They're compulsory to host the Games, but all the other sports would be up for negotiation.
And Colin, last time the Commonwealth Games took over the city, what would it look like this time?
Well, the venues built for 2014 would be the foundations of this plan. So swimming would be at Tollcross, probably with diving in Edinburgh just as it was the last time. Cycling at the Sir Chris Hoy Velodrome, obviously. The Emirates Arena, the hockey centre are still in pretty good nick. But the biggest hurdle would be for the athletics. Last time it was done at Hampden, but that cost great expense to convert that, more than £24 million, and that's just not an option this time. So this time it would probably be here at Scotstoun, but you'd be going from a 50,000 seater to about a 5,000 seater. But it's not a done deal yet. There's not even an official bid from Glasgow so far. Team Scotland wasn't quite ready for this to break as a story yet, but what they are saying is that their bid would ultimately be a last resort. But what they're trying to do is make sure that the Commonwealth Games stay alive.
Colin at Scotstoun Stadium, thank you. Scotland's prison population has reached its highest level since before the pandemic. Around 8,100 people are currently locked up, and there are concerns the numbers in jails will surge in the summer months.
The Scottish Government says it's monitoring the situation closely and working to reduce the numbers on remand and investing in community justice services. Here's our Chief Reporter Sharon Frew.
Inside Scotland's largest prison, and the fire alarm is sounding as groups arrive back from exercise. Staff say this happens up to 6 times a day. This time, it's a false alarm. Berlini has been dealing with overcrowding for years. Now there's a warning. Numbers are abnormally high across the whole prison estate.
The bottom line is when you try to squeeze more people into the same space, then anxieties raise, people get frustrated, accesses to services become more challenging. As a consequence of that, it becomes more difficult for the prison to deliver some of its primary responsibility.
The current population of Berlini is just under 1,400. This hall houses 270. Around 60% of its cells are double occupancy. Scotland's prison population exceeded 8,000 again last month. In the last 3 weeks, it's increased by more than 100. Historically, there's been a surge in numbers over the summer months.
It's fair to say, and it's pretty obvious, that the resource that we have in the estate is finite. There will come a point at which the organisation or the estate is no longer able to cope, but I couldn't say exactly when that would be.
Recent measures to tackle this include moving adult men to Polmont. 80 have been transferred to the Young Offenders Institution, which also houses women. More prisoners have been transferred to the open jail at Castle Huntly and to female community custody units.
We're also investing additional resource into those vital community justice services so that we can work harder to reduce the remand population, which remains very high.
Violence is ever present with an increasingly complex population. There's a need to separate prisoners such as sex offenders, those on remand, and members of serious organised crime groups. Added to that is addiction and health issues.
We have much less capacity for residential drug treatment than we do for jail cells. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. So I think when we talk about prison populations, we shouldn't be looking at solutions from the prison system. We should be looking at how to fix the things that control who goes in and how they get out.
So my last experience in prison really broke me, and it's not a place I want to go back to.
Scott has first-hand experience of sharing a cell, as he's been in and out of prison since he was 16. He's now part of the group Cisco, which delivers rehabilitation programmes in 4 prisons. But overcrowding impacts on the work they can do.
You find a lot of the time in prison when you ask about stuff, you get told you're on the list. It's a list that nobody sees, but it's a list that apparently exists.
The victims aren't getting the perpetrator doing rehabilitative work in prison. So really, when you strip it back, we're failing the victims. It's really shambolic when we look at it. It's disastrous, systematically disastrous, and Scottish Government have to take accountability.
The Scottish Conservatives say the country's Victorian prisons are unable to cope, and the answer to this problem is not to just release more serious offenders onto our streets. Finding a solution is the ongoing daily challenge for the entire justice system. Sharon Frew, STV News, Berlin.
A woman who says her drinking habits left her feeling like she was going to die has told STV News more help and alternative support bases are needed for people struggling with alcohol. Kirsty Mulcahy said at her worst she was drinking 3 bottles of wine a night. Now she's 6 years sober and supports others to live without alcohol.
With what some describe as the sober curious scene growing, nearly a fifth of Scots now claim to be non-drinkers. Laura Alderman reports.
Kristen and Kirsty catch up regularly over drinks in Edinburgh, but there's never a drop of alcohol in sight. They've both been sober for years, a decision Kirsty says saved her life.
I drank every day. I was lying about how much I was drinking. I was hiding the bottles underneath my sink. I think it's important to say I wasn't drinking in the morning or like sneaking away at work and having a drink. I was coming home at night and drinking 3 bottles of wine. I had been out on the 26th of December and I woke up on the 27th of December and I actually thought I was going to die, and that sounds really dramatic, but I felt like I just knew I couldn't go on and my heart was racing so much.
Kirsty is now 6 years sober and has founded a support group helping others who want to change their relationship with alcohol.
I think we're still very restricted for what support people can get, and people don't know there's other support. Sober Buzz is for that middle ground of people who are like, I don't feel like I need rehab, I don't feel like I need the 12 steps, but I want to make a change and I want to make a difference.
Kristen gave up alcohol 2 years ago and now organises sober events.
The main thing is connection and the support and knowing that they're not the only people that are going through it. I think when you decide to stop drinking, there's still quite a stigma associated with it, and people assume that you've had a really bad problem, which isn't always the case. There is more sort of events and meetups and things like that are happening. There probably could be more.
Online, there's a thriving community of sober influencers. Jade from Aberdeen regularly shares her alcohol-free journey with her 12,000 followers.
It's probably been the #1 thing that's kept me on the sobriety road. Connecting with people who understand, who don't judge you, because I think the main thing that I want to get across on my page is you don't have to suddenly commit to like a boring, dull lifestyle just because you're not drinking anymore.
Despite this trend, the number of people dying in Scotland from alcohol is rising, with 440 female deaths in 2022.
On top of acute illness, so maybe from a kind of stomach issue, liver issue, infection issue, there's also chronic diseases are more prevalent with this population. And then we have our more specialist services in each locality. But it's getting into those services and having patients having confidence to come forward and talk to their doctor and then getting access to those appointments.
With far more low or no alcohol drinks hitting supermarket shelves, making healthy changes can be easier and transformational. Laura Alderman, STV News.
Other stories in the West, and the UK Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has said his party has an unshakable and absolute commitment to the UK's nuclear arsenal, pledging to fund the completion and upgrade of a new generation of missile submarines being built in the northwest of England and headed for the Clyde. It's drawn strong criticism from the SNP.
The nuclear deterrent has been effective now for decades. It's the single most important part of our armoury to protect our country, and that's why I'm so committed to it.
We're now seeing the British Labour Party say that they want to invest in continued investment in nuclear weapons in the Clyde, while abdicating the general policies of investing in the frontline members of the armed forces and including the public services across these islands.
And who ate all the pies? Maybe he's coming shortly. Well, a Wimsby butcher is hoping more people will be eating his after securing the top secret recipe behind Scotland's 5-time Scotch pie champion. Brandon Cook was the lucky reporter.
OK, this way please. In the pie world, these butchers are like Barcelona and Real Madrid, two titans of the game, award-winning masters of their crafts with fans across the globe. But with Angus-based James Pirrie and Sons closing up shop for retirement, there was concern their recipe for success would be lost forever. Instead, the butchers have sealed a lucrative deal with McCaskey's of Wemyss. It means Scotland's 5-time Scotch pie champion lives on.
We do a good Scotch pie, but it's never been a 5 times world pie champion, which in itself is incredible. They're a lovely family, it's a great name in the butchery world, and I would have been very sad to see it disappear and that 5-time world champion pie recipe disappear. I was up in their shop getting lessons a couple of weeks ago, exactly the finishing touches, the oven temperature, different to mine. We have to make sure the standards of that pie are kept, and it's just onwards and upwards for the Pirrie pie. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Pirrie pie.
It's a nice morning, but the retiring Pirrie pie maker says his pride and joy is in safe hands with his crustworthy colleague. For an undisclosed fee, McCaskey's have acquired a slice of butcher history, 60 years worth of secret recipes to all sorts of goods.
They're all handmade. They're made with a lot of love, care and attention, but the ingredients, we use the top-class lamb, top-class beef, the very best of seasonings, the very best of pastry, but a lot of care and attention. They're all handmade, not made in big batches, and that's what gets our pie where it is.
Now, ladies, you're in for a treat. This is the big announcement today. McCaskey's have bought the company that makes the world's Scotch pie champion.
But does it get the customer seal of approval?
Very succulent, nice and juicy. Full of meat, you feel you're really getting good quality Scottish beef in there.
Really tasty, and it's a full pie.
Lots of filling.
Yeah, really good filling.
Very happy, delicious pie, lovely pastry, very delicious filling, so yeah, a great pie.
It's hoped this deal will secure the future of a much-loved tasty treat. While its creator enjoys a well-earned break, the pressure is now on its new custodian to keep the family secret alive. Brandon Cook, STV News, Wemyss.
The weekend is upon us, so is Rahman, and a big sporting weekend ahead.
Sure is, John. We've got the Grand National tomorrow, another day I donate to the bookies. We've got, in rugby, we've got Edinburgh in the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup, and we're in the business end of the football season. Good evening. Celtic have suffered a blow in the title run-in. Daizan Maeda has suffered a hamstring injury and faces an anxious wait to discover if he'll play again this season. Liam Scales will also miss the visit of St Mirren tomorrow due to injury. Saints boss Stephen Robinson says his team can play the rest of the season without any pressure after securing their place in the top half of the Premiership. He scored after just 21 seconds in last weekend's Old Firm derby, but Daizan Maeda won't be seen wearing a Celtic jersey anytime soon. Brendan Rodgers has revealed the winger is injured with no timescale put on his return.
He picked up an injury high up on his hamstring, on his tendon, so we'll have to see where that and what that looks like over the coming weeks. So, but he's certainly not available for the weekend.
Will that require him seeing a specialist?
Yeah, something that the medical team will look at, but yeah, we'll see where that goes in the next week or so, and then we'll see whether or understand better whether what inclusion he'll have now between now and the end of the season.
Last weekend, Adam Ida scored his 6th goal for Celtic since making the switch from Norwich on loan in January. Is that up there with one of the most important goals of your career?
Yeah, possibly. Who knows? It was obviously an amazing feeling, and to get a goal in that derby is crazy. I think really enjoying it, playing up here, and it's probably the most confident I've ever been. And I think people could probably tell that when I'm on the pitch and around the place. That's probably the best I've played, and you can tell by the goals. So I think in terms of performance-wise, it really does help me. Yeah.
St Mirren travel to Celtic Park after securing their place in the top 6 of the Premiership, and they're in contention for a European spot.
It's for up to us to go and kick on, enjoy. We're under absolutely no pressure. Nobody
nobody should really expect what we've done, even though it has risen the expectations of the football club. But we're in a position now to go and play without fear and go and enjoy the rest of the season.
Nick Montgomery says speculation he is unhappy at Hibs and eyeing a return to Australia is completely untrue, and he expects to remain as head coach next season. Meanwhile, 1 year on from taking over at Hearts, Stephen Naismith says he's seen huge progress on and off the pitch at Tynecastle. Jamie Borthwick reports.
It's the final round in the fight for the top 6, but earlier this week social media would have had you believe the Hibs boss was ready to throw in the towel. The internet was awash with rumours Nick Montgomery was mulling over a return to manage in Australia. He insists he's going nowhere.
I made a decision to come here because it's a big club, because of the challenge, because of the expectation, because of the pressure, and yeah, that's you know, I don't know where them stories came from, but obviously completely not true.
Defeat to St Johnstone means Hibs must win at Motherwell tomorrow to keep hopes of a top 6 finish alive. Regardless, Montgomery believes he'll be given time to finish rebuilding the team.
Yeah, of course. I still expect to be here, you know, for the duration of my contract, the time that I came here, and I looked at it as, you know, a big picture and you know, what I wanted to implement at the club and how to rebuild, and I think there's been a lot of that this season.
It's a happy anniversary for Stephen Naismith with his Hearts side closing in on 3rd place, 1 year on from taking the reins at Tynecastle.
I think we've made big progress. I think the dynamic of the squad's changed in terms of the feeling, their confidence, but internally us getting to the next level and being comfortable with the way the game's changed now and what the demand is on us, we're comfortable in that. It's now about, right, can we probably win more games, have more of a threat going forward? These are the next stages that we want to get to.
Hearts welcome relegation-threatened Livingston to Gorgie tomorrow. Jamie Borthwick, STV News.
Philippe Clement says Rangers will face a super-motivated Ross County side when they face each other in Dingwall. That match is on Sunday with a 12 o'clock kick-off. Elsewhere this weekend, 4th place Kilmarnock are away to St Johnstone and Aberdeen are at home to Dundee. Rugby, and ahead of his 200th appearance for Edinburgh, Grant Gilchrist says he's determined to bring silverware to the club. After defeating Bayonne last weekend, Sean Everett's side take on the Sharks in the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup in South Africa tomorrow.
To bring silverware here changes everything. It's been a goal of mine for a long time, and I'm going to fight to try and make that happen for as long as I'm here. And that's all you can do, and that's all we ask of everybody who comes in every day. Give your absolute best, prepare as best we can, go out and deliver everything, you know, give everything you've got.
Finally, horse racing, and Scottish trainer Lucinda Russell is bidding to win the Grand National for the 2nd successive year with Corrick Rambler at Aintree tomorrow. Corrick Rambler stormed to glory last year to give Russell her 2nd success in the world's most famous steeplechase race, having won the National with one for Arthur in 2017.
Technically, we're carrying more weight than we did last year, but he's got the experience of the track, he's got the experience of the fences, so it is always difficult to go back. And they say that some horses don't win another race after they've won the National, and the reason for that is it takes a lot of energy out of them. But actually for Corrick, I think he's really enjoyed his training. Skew rides him all the time and says that he feels that he's improved. So if he can improve, then he's got every chance of winning again.
And you can watch the Grand National live on STV tomorrow. The race goes off at 4 o'clock. That, folks, is all your sport tonight. Have a great weekend. I'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Rama. Now here's the weather with Sean.
A spell of wows will gradually settle into a scattering of traditional tapas. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Good evening. Well, let's start off by looking at the jet stream. Unfortunately, it's right over the top of us. Not great news if you're wanting things to settle down, and especially not great news when you start to see these red and orange colours coming into it, because that means the jet stream's firing up, getting faster, and that does mean the low pressure systems that are around with that jet stream going faster, clipping the top of them, rather like spinning tops, so they go a bit faster, which does mean the weather remains very changeable, very unsettled for the time being. A blustery weekend to come, and very wet at times too, and also turning a little bit cooler. us. Not a great weekend ahead, staying unsettled into the start of next week, but the jet stream may take a wee bit of a holiday towards the end of next week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, things settling down. But still staying showery over the next couple of hours, but overnight it becomes largely dry, clear spells, lows down to about 7 degrees Celsius. Then tomorrow morning across central and southern parts, not a bad start to the day. I'm talking about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning before we see heavy, thundery rain spreading its way eastwards across all parts. Once that clears away, we see more sunshine coming through from around lunchtime onwards, but there will be lots of heavy showers. And the winds will be quite gusty in those passing showers. Temperatures on the face of it, 11, 12 degrees Celsius, but in those showers they'll probably drop down to about 8 degrees. The risk of some hail, as say, possibility of rumbles of thunder, and there will be snow over higher ground. Sunday, almost a carbon copy, dry and bright further south and east to start with, but then heavy, blustery showers coming in for the afternoon. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, it's a big year for comedian Ray Bradshaw as the avid football fan heads to Germany for the Euros. But first, he has the small matter of a 40-date UK tour to complete.
His latest show, Doppelganger, yes, you heard that right, is inspired by forever being told, "You look just like my mate." Gordon Smart spoke to Ray for tonight's What's on Scotland about his quest to find the person who resembles him most.
Are you a bald ginger person or know someone that is? I need your help.
Have you ever done something that it was a good idea at the time and it's got massive out of hand? That's what
the last 25 years of my life.
That's what this new show is. So essentially I'm trying to find people in the world that look like me. I've done gigs to only bald ginger people. I've been travelling around.
Doppelginger
Yes.
is the name of the tour.
Really happy with the name.
Great
really
name.
happy with the
I
name.
mean, at the heart of every great tour is a wonderful pun.
My mum and dad are downstairs, we're upstairs, stuff's happening, we're getting handsy, essentially just touching each other pretty much. And I had this thought in my head, I had to voice it. I was drunk and I just went, shh. And she went, "Your mum and dad are deaf." And I went, "Yeah, I know. What if they've just been pretending?"
When I look at those tour dates, I think, wow, Ray Bradshaw's doing well. Look at all those dates. But do you look at it and think, oh, God, I've got a lot of work ahead?
Well, I look at my poster, I genuinely can't believe I'm doing that many. And some of the venues I'm doing, so like Glasgow, I'm going to sell over 1,000 tickets, which is insane. It feels very, very surreal when you've spent time gigging to 20 people in Wishaw.
Ray, looking ahead to your one-way ticket to Germany.
Yeah, I finish a tour, then I go to Germany on a one-way flight for the Euros. Like,
it is a one-way flight you booked, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, again, are we reading into that as confidence or disorganisation?
A combination. Is it weird, into the annoyance of my agent and my tour manager, that I planned my entire tour around Scotland going to the Euros? Yes. Is it a career detriment? Yes. Is it going to be amazing? Yes. I'm so excited.
And is it one of the best years of Ray Bradshaw's life?
Get to me in July. We'll see how that goes.
See where we are in
if
July.
I can get my wife Taylor Swift tickets, then yes, it will be. It's that kind of way.
And you can see more on that on tonight's What's on Scotland at 7.
From all of us here, thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.
Good night.